Happy Friday, people. Happy Friday, happy Friday, happy Friday. This is the Damien Jones podcast. One day I'm going to get some cool theme music as I do my intro. Maybe some Al Green, maybe some Teddy Pendergrass, maybe some Future. I'm going to get some good music in here pretty soon. But happy to be with you all. Looking forward to a great weekend. We got a really good show for you today. So let's take a moment right now and do what we do. Let's start sharing this broadcast. We have a really, really great guest and a really, really good topic to talk about on today. So blessed to be with you. Bear with me today. I may have lost my voice. We had such a great conversation last night when we talked about Black men and the importance of Black men in our social and political landscapes. And so I hope you saw that conversation. If you missed it, go back and watch. Go back and watch, and you will see a wonderful conversation with great Black men, about 7 guys, and we had various diverse discussion about the topics because Black men don't all think the same way, and we are diverse. And so let me find this thing so I can share it for you really quickly. What's going on with my deal? There it is. Okay. All right, let's share this broadcast. Join us. All right, I'm sharing that broadcast. We'll bring our guests in just a moment. Let me know what you got up for the weekend. Tell me in the comments what you have going for the weekend. But I want to get in here and share this. Get my watch party started as well. I'll see it in a second. But hey, here, watch party. Here we go. Let's do it. Boom. All right. So I got all these people in the room. All right. Got all my sharing out of the way. Listen, SWAC Sports. Listen, I have my FAMU hat on today. I want to switch it up a little bit. I see my big bro in the room, Mari. Good to see you, brother. Make sure you in here for this conversation as well. But listen, whether you're in Houston, whether you're in Alabama, whether you are in now Florida, whether you are Texas, whether you are Mississippi, Louisiana, no matter where you are enjoying SWAC sports, be that golf, baseball, basketball, football, whatever it may be. You are a product. You are probably enjoying the bands and the camaraderie, the homecomings. It is great. And so in the era of COVID, our sports have been somewhat disrupted. We're wondering about this time we would be getting ready for football games and so forth and so on. But COVID has kind of pushed some of that back. And so wanted to get with administration for SWAC and talk with the commissioner. We have Dr. Jason Cable, who is the senior associate commissioner for SWAC, and talk to him about the future of SWAC sports and the adjustments that they particularly have had to make, how they're going to keep the student athletes safe and so forth and so on. And particularly, let's talk about prime time coming to the SWAC at my hometown, Jackson State. Although I went to Texas Southern, my heart is always with Jackson State, with the boom as well. I saw so many championship years while I was in Jackson. Have yet to see one here in Houston. And so let me bring my brother into the room, Dr. Jason Cable, SWAC Senior Associate Commissioner. Good brother, welcome to the broadcast. How are you today?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking time. I know you are busy. I know that you have your hands full. I've been trying to get with you all for weeks, but I know, hey, it comes with the territory. Y'all are swamped with media requests, but I appreciate you making time for a little brother like me as well. And, as we talked about before the broadcast came on, I'm a product of Texas Southern University by way of Jackson State University. And hey, why is he wearing this FAMU hat? Because my wife is a proud product of FAMU, and so I've been married about 1.5 years, and I've learned how to keep the peace in the home. And so I am wearing this hat today begrudgingly. But if it makes my wife happy, it's gonna make my life a little bit better. But tell us a little bit about you, bro. I think you have some roots in Mississippi. Tell us about your SWAC background.
Yeah, I'm originally from Huntsville, Alabama. Both of my parents attended Alabama A&M University. So much like you, grew up going to Alabama A&M games as you grew up going to Jackson State games. So became an A&M fan. They transitioned to the SWAC just before I graduated from high school. My first SWAC contest was Alabama A&M and Southern. And so growing up in Huntsville, going to the games, we were not used to tailgating. We were used to getting to the game probably around 30. No, Huntsville, Alabama wasn't a huge tailgate city at that time. You know, it is. Yeah, but we were progressing. So getting to the game in our normal time, Southern already occupied the visitor side and half of the home side. So that was my introduction to the SWAC. And I was fortunate enough to go to Alcorn State University, play for the legendary Coach Whitney, played basketball there, and transitioned into coaching shortly thereafter. And then after my stint in coaching, got into administration. So I've been working in administration, worked at all HBCUs, I worked in the CIAA, the MEAC, and now I'm in the SWAC. So proud to be here, HBCU product, and love the SWAC, and just fortunate enough to do something I love and represent an organization I love.
Absolutely. Appreciate that kind of walking through your background, so folks know who you are and who we're talking with, and understand the perspective that you bring to the table. You were once an athlete. You've lived it. You've walked through it. And I told you, so if you played with Coach Whitney, I remember your name. How many points did you average? I hate to put you on the spot, brother.
I scored over a little over 1,000 for my career. So
that's what I remember your name, brother. I remember your name. But I want to make sure folks know who we're talking with. And are you a member of a Greek organization by chance?
Yes, I am. Absolutely.
What's that?
Omega Psi Phi.
Yeah. See. Listen, I want to put it all out here, brother. So as I was preparing for the interview, I sent your bio to one of my homeboys. And I said, and he's a bro. And he said, I said, you know this cat? He said, no. Then he went back and he said, yeah, he's a bro. And so it's kind of like, man, one thing I say about Omegas, man, y'all everywhere, y'all know every face, every name, y'all connected all over the place, man. So it's a great brotherhood. But let me just first ask you one, for you and your family, how you and your family have been able to adjust to COVID-19. I know it's been crazy for you.
Yeah, it's been an adjustment. We're faring pretty well, just staying in and staying safe, so that's all we really can do right now.
Good. Let me also point out that Dr. Cable is under the great leadership of our dear brother from Mississippi, from Jackson, by way of TSU, Dr. Charles McClellan, who is the SWAC commissioner as well. So I know that y'all are doing some great work. Just want to give kudos to him. Just a great brother. But let's talk about sports. We normally would be enjoying football right now. We know in the spring you got baseball, you got all these different types of sports. Dr. Cable, kind of talk about and tell us how you and the administration have had to make the proper adjustments to keep student athletes safe in the era of COVID-19.
Yeah, absolutely. Early on, we put together a COVID advisory committee, just made up of our membership, student athletes, coaches, athletic trainers, athletic directors, other administrators, and came to a decision that we didn't feel like we could play. Our president was definitely involved in that process. And so just made a hard decision to say, look, we're not going to play, but we want to not announce a cancellation, but a postponement. And so we felt that there was a path forward to play in the spring. And so we started working towards that path. Since then, we have seen a number of conferences to start playing and didn't play initially. We have no intention to do that. We want to stick with our plan in terms of playing in the spring. We want to give our fans and our student athletes something to look forward to. And as you mentioned, you saw a lot of championships in Jackson Mississippi. And so that whole city, kind of is driven by JSU athletics. And so when you take that away, that's a significant impact financially and also in terms of entertainment, So we wanted to make sure that we were able to keep that value there for our membership.
Absolutely. I mean, whether it's Jackson, I mean, here in Houston, we haven't seen as many championships, but we are always excited to see our Tigers. When Southern comes to town, and Southern travels like no other unit. I'm telling you, man, they will fill every hotel, and so we're just always excited to kind of see those type of things. But what played into the decision, and I saw a lot of team, and I don't know if this applies to every team, but just speaking of football here, that I think even Jackson State just doing only home games. How did you go about creating that kind of schedule? Because I know it's cut down to maybe like 7 games or so in the spring. How did you come about kind of putting those schedules together and something that's comprehensive and that keeps everyone safe?
Well, we work with our athletic directors, and Ashley Robinson, the AD at Jackson State. He's our chair of our SWAC committee. And so working with that committee, the thought process was we wanted to maintain rivalry. So we wanted to make sure that, those traditional rivalries, Texas Southern, Prairie View, Jackson State, Alcorn, Southern and Jackson State is becoming a rivalry as well. It is a rivalry. So taking those games, placing those games on the schedules, and just making sure that we had a competitive schedule that we could host a championship. So you still play everyone on your side, and you're able to cross over and play important games or rivalry games, and we're able to choose you earn a divisional championship and then play for the SWAC championship. And so that was a general thought process. So.
Okay. Now tell me basketball. So if we're doing football next spring, where does basketball fit in that equation? Are you looking at maybe trying to get on the basketball court this fall as within the normal schedule? Has it been pushed back? Where are we with our hoops?
Well, we're remaining status quo. We have our schedule that's been in place for quite some time. So we have not talked about moving the schedule back. The NCAA did move the start date back to November 25th. So that impacted some of our early non-conference games. But as it relates to a conference schedule, our conference schedule starts in January, the first week of January, and runs through the second or third week of March. So we want to keep that schedule intact. But obviously, we're flexible. So, as the pandemic trends up or trends down, decisions will have to be made as it relates to spring sports.
Right. So, Damien Jones podcast, talking with great sports chat here with SWAC Senior Associate Commissioner Dr. Jason Cable, former standout athlete within the SWAC. Has worked his way to the top throughout different conferences, and now he's talking with us about moving forward in the safe path forward within SWAC sports. Tell me about social distancing. Some folks are still going to make it to local football games, and some teams don't have people crowd in the stands. Right. What is the plan? Just for football in terms of meeting the CDC and the national guidelines for safety, in terms of social distancing, in terms of hand sanitizing and things of that nature. What will that look like when you got, are we going to welcome fans into the stands in the spring for football? If so, what does that look like? Are they spaced out? Kind of talk to us about what we can expect from that standpoint.
Yeah, at this time, each institution has to follow their state and local guidelines, which may vary. And so in terms of sanitation, there's a baseline in terms of, what's provided and hand sanitizers and masks and those things and those restrictions coming into the stadium. But as it relates to social distancing, the percentage of capacity, that's going to be left up to the individual institution and their state and local government.
Okay. Good deal. Yeah. And so that across the board. So it could be fans, it could be no fans in the stands as well. So it just depends on what each state has laid out. academics, which is so important. You know, when we say student, we always say athlete as well. You know, and oftentimes our SWAC schools can get a bad rap when it comes to student athletes sometimes not meeting academic requirements. Those are some of the negative things that you'll see in the media from time to time. Some of our star athletes not meeting the academic rigors, but we know that is not the overall case.
Right.
And so, kind of talk to us about some of the successes and the numbers that your SWAC athletes are kind of boasting when it comes to academics and things that you all have done.
Yeah, so from a conference perspective, we have around 3,800 student athletes. Of that 3,800, we have around 16 to 1,700 that have 3.0 or better GPAs. And so that kind of speaks to the academic performance of the student athlete population. Additionally, of our 10 institutions, 12 and 21, all of our institutions, student athletes boast a graduation rate higher than the general student population. So that once again speaks to the academic performance of the students. And so when you start looking at APR, it's not really a good indicator of how well student athletes are doing in the classroom. It may be an indicator of process, maybe even a little bit of lack of resources as we continue to work through those issues. But as a conference, all our member institutions are trending up as it relates to the academic progress rate. The NCAA has provided revenue distribution based on those achievements. So the higher your APR is, the higher graduation rate you have, you qualify for funding from the NCAA. So 80% of our institutions received that funding this past year, which speaks again to the academic performance of our student athletes.
Absolutely. Thank you for laying that out, because I think again we just often hear about those negative situations, but what you're saying is that SWAC student athletes, you said about 3,800.
Yeah, right? 3,800. Yep.
Yeah, are doing well. Getting in and out in 4 years, at least close to the best they can, and also giving the fans and the institution the best product as possible on the field in a safe way. From a social standpoint, you are a very a brilliant guy. Yeah, you don't have doctor in front of your name for nothing. So you've read more books than I have and written more papers than I have.
I don't know about that.
But as we look across the nation, and this 2020 has been a very, very unpredictable year for us, Dr. Cable. And we see unemployment rate is drastically dropping, particularly amongst African Americans. We are seeing more and more calls for better policing. We see the folks are protesting for better wages. Folks are just saying Black Lives Matter, all those different things, right? But when you dive into the details, a lot of that is affected, especially as we talk about young leaders rising up. A lot of those folks are either friends and are your athletes, young athletes who are playing sports, but also connected to the social fabric of what's going on in their community. And so what we're seeing is, I know we saw it in Howard, one of the top recruits decided to go to Howard because he felt more of a connection. I want to set a tone and go to an HBCU. I know the kid Mikey, I think his last name, but there's talk that he may be coming to an HBCU, probably TSU if I had my druthers here. But kind of talk to us about that effect that you're seeing of young kids, getting more away from the larger institutions, the PWIs, and putting more of a focus and say, hey, in this moment that I want to set a tone for my community and something that can be sustainable and full of pride, and I want to come to an HBCU. Kind of talk about if that trend picks up, the impact that it could have on the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just remember we talked a little bit about my introduction to the SWAC, but my introduction to HBCUs, both of my parents graduated from HBCUs. But then again, in the early 90s, you saw a Martin, you know, those entertainers that were on TV, they were wearing HBCU paraphernalia, right? When we got to the early 2000s, mid 2000s, it kind of went away. And then you kind of saw a dip, not only in enrollment, but then you saw a dip in academic and athletic performance, right? So we stopped getting those 3- and 4-star athletes during that period of time, right? It was slowly trickling down. And I think now with the social justice movement, with the Black Lives Matter movement, young people are becoming more educated on the history and tradition of HBCUs. HBCUs are at the forefront. You see, like I saw Grant Hill in the picture wearing Howard shorts. I mean, it's everywhere, right? And so now, if you have a young person that understands that they can go to a HBCU and get the same thing that they would get at a SEC, Pac-12, or ACC school, and then they are successful at HBCU, I think the trend will drastically change, and so you see student athletes making a conscious decision to say, hey, I'm one of the best players in the nation, right?
Yeah.
But I want my academic and my athletic achievements to be nurtured at a HBCU.
Right.
And so once that message is seen with a bit of success, so it's one thing to go there, but once those student athletes are successful, I think you will see a significant change in the trend of not only athletes, but our top students coming back to HBCUs.
Yeah. Who is off if you can repeat, who are some of the more notable kind of celebrities from a sports standpoint, athletes that have come out of the SWAC that you can name?
Well, obviously, you know the Walter Paytons, the Lynn Barneys, Steve McNair, and then we know Michael Strahan, Willis Reed, Reuben Foster. Reuben Foster actually started the Negro League. His brother, Bill Foster, who was a baseball Hall of Famer, played at Alcorn State. So there are so many different stories. There are so many celebrated student athletes. The list just continues to go on and on. So we're looking for a new era. Like you mentioned, we need a new wave of talented young people to come take their role in the HBCU landscape so we can continue to develop what we like to call champions for life.
Right. Listen, parents that are watching, you got these young people, these young talented athletes, send them to an HBCU. Send them to an HBCU. Let me tell you, I had the once I got out of the military, I had the choice to either go to a U of H or Texas Southern University. And, I went and looked at the curriculum over at U of H. I went and looked at the facilities. I looked at everything that was happening over there. Then I walked across the street and came on the campus of Texas Southern University. And I saw the people. I met the people. I felt the aura. But I said, you know what? I want to spend my next couple of years right here amongst my people and have a good time and enjoy the experience, enjoy homecoming, enjoy our band, which ain't as good as the Sonic Boom, but we praying for them. We're gonna get there, right? But it was just a great experience. And in terms of pride as a Black person, listen, I think folks should. You send your kids to HBCU for undergrad and then send them to a PWI if you want to for graduate purposes, because I think there's an identity that you need to develop on the campus of an HBCU as an undergraduate student that can oftentimes be lost at a PWI because you just become a number and your culture is not celebrated. But there's a certain type of euphoria that comes when your culture is celebrated, you live it and breathe it every day, and you're amongst those that look like you in an academic setting with rigorous curriculum to learn the different disciplines, and then you go out into the world with such pride, with your head up high. And I know it prepared me a great deal for life. Did it do that for you as well?
Absolutely. I echo exactly what what you're saying, got to Alcorn, had an opportunity to learn and be myself, right? So that was very important to me. And like I said, just having parents that have gone to HBCUs and just being connected to them, you know, throughout my career and throughout my life has been very, very beneficial.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, as we talk about that social justice piece, and we've seen, you know, the NBA has made different concessions to support their athletes in such a way around social justice and civic participation. We're seeing different Fortune 500 companies making those type of adjustments. We're seeing football, baseball, those different sports leagues. Is the SWAC doing anything to support the student athletes in terms of civic participation in their fight for justice?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we support all our member institutions and their support for Black Lives Matter or social justice. In terms of individual institutions, they have the autonomy, you know, to protest, the autonomy to erect programming. You know, we support them wholeheartedly. Actually, we encourage them. In terms of our men's basketball coaches, they started an initiative where 100% of our men's basketball student athletes are registered to vote. And so that's one of the things that we got behind and we supported our coaches on. But, you know, absolutely, you know, we don't believe in staying silent. And I have to quote Outkast here. And I don't know if you're old enough to kind of remember.
Don't do me like that. Don't do me like that now. I'm gonna remember whatever you say. I'm gonna remember. What you got?
I can't remember what song, but it stuck with me. He said, if you don't educate yourself, how you supposed to know how to get paid, right? And I just paraphrase it. So with that, we want our student athletes to educate themselves on what's going on so they can be more knowledgeable and have a valuable impact.
Absolutely, absolutely. Make sure you are sharing this broadcast, liking this broadcast. Wonderful conversation with SWAC Commissioner Dr. Jason Cable. You've laid out some great things for us, but here's what I really want to know here, because you all have done something that I want you to pray for me. And my big brother, who also married me and my wife, is watching. He was a standout receiver at Jackson State back in the mid '90s. Merrick Walker. Now he's leading souls to Christ. But you know, you're gonna put my marriage in trouble, man, with something that y'all did by expanding the SWAC and bringing in 2 new teams into the SWAC family. And so you expanded to bring in Bethune-Cookman from the MEAC into the SWAC family, and also expanded to bring, unfortunately, Florida Agricultural and Mechanical, University, FAMU, into the fold as well. And when I saw the news, I thought it was an interesting choice. Kind of talk to us and kind of explain what was the thinking in bringing in those 2 very historic institutions into the SWAC.
Yeah, first of all, there was an interest there. There was an interest from FAMU. There was an interest from Bethune-Cookman to join the SWAC. And so we were interested as well once hearing, you know, that they were thinking about making the move. And so all the indicators in terms of adding FAMU first in Florida was positive. You know, you get an opportunity to expand your footprint to the state of Florida. You get an opportunity to get a high-profile HBCU as a part of your conference. You get an opportunity to get a high-profile academic institution as a part of your conference. And then for them, if you look at their travel and rivalries, it was just a perfect fit. And so as the process continued to go on and we got more serious, we kind of connected with our fan base, and there was overwhelming support to include FAMU. Connected with our sponsors, there was overwhelming support to welcome in FAMU. So there was not a negative in the whole process as we looked at the numbers, as we looked at the impact on travel from our institutions to FAMU and vice versa. I mean, everything was positive. Yeah, it just lined up. And then so, you know, later, or maybe a week later, you had the same type of interest from Bethune-Cookman. And so we received the same bottom line, as it relates to expanding our brand further south in Florida, including the institution that has been successful athletically. They have great academic programs as well. People don't really know, but their budget is one of the bigger budgets in HBCUs. And so Bethune, bringing those resources in, bringing those resources into the conference, and then developing new rivalries with Bethune and our membership. So, it was a no-brainer for us, and we've been very fortunate, in terms of timing, and those two institutions wanted to make a move at the same time, and we were able to pass all this information I talked about to our President's Council, who voted them in. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, I thought it made perfect sense. Hey, if I'm in your shoes and we already have a footprint in Texas, but why not go get a footprint in the state of Florida, where it is a hotbed for tremendous talent? You'll be able to compete with other institutions to get. I mean, there's just a stable of talent in Florida that you can grab. And then right here in the city of Houston, there are a lot of FAMU grads right here in the city of Houston. There's a huge stable of them, not even counting my wife. And so I thought it made sense. And then it just added another rivalry to the family. And so now we can travel. I can travel to Jackson to see FAMU. We can go to Tallahassee to see those games. They can come here. Southern, go down there and beat up on them. So I just thought it just made a lot of sense to make that particular move. So I was very, very excited to see that. And I'm praying for FAMU and Bethune and their fan base as they are welcoming to the SWAC in a very rough way, probably get hit in the mouth, but they'll adjust and get used to how we do things in the SWAC. To talking about some very important hires that have been made in the SWAC that I thought was very exciting. The first one I thought was very exciting. Again, I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, so I grew up watching Mo Williams play. He was my favorite player. I would cut newspaper clippings out of the Clarion Ledger and put them into a scrapbook in Mo's junior and senior year. I thought he was just the best basketball player that God ever put on earth. But he matriculated to the University of Alabama, went on to the NBA, had a very good career, but now was recently hired as the head basketball coach at Alabama State University. Kind of talk about how that hire was received by administration.
Yeah, it was received very well. Obviously, you win a championship with LeBron, you kind of move to the head of the list, right? And not only that, I mean, he was coaching, I think, at California State Northridge. So he has some experience. He's not a guy they just brought in just because he was an NBA player. But that hire, I think, fits Alabama State. Kudos to AD Jennifer Williams, bringing a guy in with high energy. After the retirement of a longtime coach, Coach Lewis Jackson, who did a phenomenal job there. So bringing a young guy in, he's energetic, he's knowledgeable, he's able to get the student athletes to buy in. He's already done a good job in recruiting, and so we think that he adds value to our league. We have a number of all of our coaches are very innovative and creative, and so we have a great coaching stable within the conference for basketball, and we think Mo Williams adds value.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you have a name like a Mo, again, young people know him. Young people have looked up to him. I know, my peer group, we're excited to just watch him, a guy that's around our same age, that is matriculated and done well. We follow him, like you said, Cal State Northridge. He was doing some local coaching in Dallas for a couple of years for an academy and things of that nature. And just to watch him now leading young men, we saw some clips on Twitter the other day, and I just had goosebumps just watching Mo control practice and things of that nature. And I think also, Darius Rice is he at Valley now? Is that correct?
That's correct. So Darius Rice, assistant coach on the men's side at Valley, another phenomenal player from Jackson, played collegiately at Miami. And I think he just finished playing overseas. He had a long career overseas. So yeah, it's great to have him. And I think one of his relatives went to Mississippi Valley State, the great Jerry Rice. So
Okay.
they're related. So
Right.
yeah. So
Right.
I
I
mean,
forgot about that.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, let me ask you this really quickly. And I was meaning to ask you this earlier. Um, as you know, as we talked about that how kids are turning their attention to HBCUs given the social justice climate. And you say, hey, if I can go to HBCU and get the same things that I can get at a PWI, and for the most part, you can. But the drawback has always been, Dr. Cable, what about facilities?
Mhm.
What about facilities? Because I'll go do a visit at LSU, right? And I'm seeing world class facilities, 100,000 folk seat arena, you know, X, Y, and Z, all these different things, boosters, all this kind of stuff you're getting. And then I go down the road and I visit Southern, and maybe the facilities may not be as extravagant, may not as lavish, and so forth and so on. How do you battle with that, and how do you still win over the best athletes, given that disparity in some places?
Yeah, but honestly, you're not going to win over all your premier athletes. You know,
Mm-hmm.
some are going to make decisions based on facilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I've never known anyone to take a facility with them when they leave the institution. You can play football in the stadium. When you leave, that football stadium is going to stay there.
Good point. That's a good point.
But hopefully, you know, the sale is when you leave one of our institutions, you're taking the experience.
Yeah.
You're taking relationships.
Yeah.
You're leaving there a different person than when you came, you know, and you're able to contribute to society at a higher level, whether that be on the football field or not. And so those are the type of student athletes, I think, that will make the decisions. Those higher tier student athletes that really understand what they want to receive as relates to an experience in college, and want to work hard and do understand that facilities may not be there, but what we don't have in facilities, we have in class size, we have in just a nurturing environment. You know, we have in terms of connectivity amongst alums across all universities. It's kind of like a big fraternity. A HBCU alum is like you're part of a big fraternity. Everybody laughs and jokes, but that one thing that you have in common produces fruitful relationships. So student athletes that understand that will make a decision, especially during this climate, to come to HBCU versus going to an institution just based on facilities.
Absolutely. So here's the meat and potatoes. This is what I really want to ask you here. I went through all that other stuff, but here's what I really want to ask you though here. Coach Prime. Listen, man, you know, and you probably just like me. We grew up, when you talk about football growing up as a young black kid, everybody wanted to wear the number 21. Everybody wanted to put all the socks and the different add-ons to the uniform. Everybody wanted to try to get a visor on their deal. Everybody wanted to have their gloves and leave the straps open and all those different type of things. And everybody wanted to get a pick six. No matter if you playing sideline kill, if you playing practice in the back of the schoolyard, you want to take it up that sideline and you want to hold it up, and you want to get the high step going. The recent news of Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, NFL Hall of Famer, two-time champion, becoming the head coach at Jackson State University. In my view, one of the worst kept secrets over the last couple of weeks, because leaks were just going everywhere, and I'm trying to add it up like, I don't know, it may be something to this. The university saying no, other folks are saying this. These little details are here. What's going on here? And I'm, I think the community has had a reaction to it, and I think the broader SWAC community has had a reaction to it. Dr. Cable, kind of talk about what you know of how that came together, and just the inner workings of that process in landing such a huge hire for Jackson State University.
Well, quite honestly, we were on the outside looking in, and kudos to Ashley Robinson, who's done an amazing job at Jackson State. Other than the hire, obviously the hire was a great deal, but in terms of how he's been able to take that program to higher heights. But yeah, we were on the outside looking in. I mean, we heard about the firing of one coach, or the non-renewal of contract.
Sure.
Of one coach, and then immediately, Deion Sanders popped up on the horizon, and so there was no confirmation until that press conference this week that he was going to actually become the coach. But just like everyone else, we were excited to get an individual like that within our family. You're talking about publicity, notoriety. You're talking about swag. You're talking about just the whole state of Mississippi, actually the whole SWAC, because you saw comments from different alums of different institutions congratulating Jackson State on hiring Deion Sanders. So I mean, he set our conference on fire. But don't want to negate the fact Deion is definitely a prize, but don't want to negate the fact that we do have other great coaches in the conference too. And so, whereas Deion is
that have already won games and already building the program, right? So,
right. So he's a front runner as it relates to his celebrity. I think he's going to do a wonderful job. But we have other coaches in the conference that are good as well. But congratulations to Jackson State, and I think the hire has done volumes for that institution and for our conference as well.
Right. And so, in my mind, I've already seen the conversations of when you talk about a Deion, again, the relationships. He has deep relationships in the state of Texas in terms of recruiting. He has deep relationships in the state of Florida in terms of recruiting as well. And so being able to compete and bring maybe a higher caliber of athlete into the SWAC family and to put that product on the field, I think is tremendous as well. But again, I think, and I'm just speaking from a Jackson State standpoint, I think they're, coming from a time where, in my childhood, we saw championship after championship after championship after championship, if not second place, during those Robert Hughes, Big Daddy Carson type days, those fierce battles with Alcorn State, with the Steve McNair and those boys at that particular time. And so I think it's just a shot in the arm for the community there. What do you think? Just the celebrity of a Deion could do for a community like that. It's just the state of Mississippi to just inject life into folks, especially during a tough time like a COVID. I mean, what kind of impact do you think that he could have?
I just think the excitement, as well as the economic impact. I mean, like you said, his relationships. I mean, his following. His following on social media is over 1 million. He has over 1 million followers. So he got hired one day. He was on Good Morning America the next day. 2 days after that, his son, who's a 4-star athlete, he offered a scholarship to. In between that, he had a student athlete from Mississippi State to make a decision to come to Jackson State. So, I mean, all those things, the impact, I think, is multifaceted. I think it's economic. I think it's social. And I think it's athletically, Jackson State will benefit as well with those, especially with his recruiting base, and like you mentioned, in Florida and in Texas.
Right. Now, I mean, and I know you're always thinking, your job is to also think on the business side, right? I can only imagine that, because I'll tell you, like, I haven't been to a Jackson State game, been back home maybe in years, but I'm just waiting a couple more days until I can buy my tickets on October 1st. And if I'm doing that, I know many people are doing that as well, and whether they're playing whomever, kind of talk about the economic impact that can have for all the teams in the SWAC in terms of just driving more revenue.
Right. So you're talking about Deion coming to Baton Rouge. You have some fans are going to come to the game just because it's Jackson State, and Southern, but then you have additional fans that are going to pile in because they want to see Deion, you know. And so you can go to, say, Arkansas Pine Bluff. That may not be a highly attended game like Jackson State and Southern, but those numbers are going to look drastically different when Deion's the coach of Jackson State. And so you're right in terms of the economic impact, not only in Jackson, but as he travels and plays on the campus of other SWAC members, you will see the influx of ticket sales and the influx of engagement and the influx of excitement. You know, and not to mention, and I know Ashley is going to probably quantify this a little bit later, but there's already been moves made that have had a significant financial or economic impact on Jackson State just by hiring Deion. So, and we're just only in the first week or so of his tenure. So, yeah, I don't think you can measure it at this time.
Yeah, I've heard conversations. Hey, we need a new stadium. You know, a lot of local businesses are saying, "Hey, we're getting ready. We need more paraphernalia because it's going to start jumping off the shelves and things of that nature." But let me ask you this: I mean, you just mentioned, hey, Deion is in town, but you know, as you just mentioned, make no mistake, we already have some very high quality coaches within the SWAC that are building great programs. Alcorn State, Prairie View, and other schools have very good programs. Southern as well, very good programs. TSU is building and trying to get there. So make no mistake, just because you got this fancy name and all the celebrity coming, your head coaching record is still 0-0. You know, and we want to see what kind of product can be put on the field. From that standpoint, do you think there could possibly be maybe some dissension amongst the coaching ranks? You know, as you get this big hot shot coming in, sucking all the air out of the room, you know, you got other coaches that have been there. Do you think there could possibly be some dissension with all of that? You know, with those coaches already been winning championships and been the beacon within the SWAC ranks?
No, absolutely not. You know, all coaches are competitors, and I think if you look at the age range of our coaches, I think Deion kind of fits in with our head coaches. So they probably watched him play. I mean, they probably were fans at one particular time. There's no dissension there, but make no mistake about it, they want to beat him just like they want to beat anyone else in the conference. I can't say they won't use that as motivation, you know, for their team. So no, I don't think there will be any dissension, but I think it makes our conference more competitive.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, because we're going to be at all the games, as many as we can, you know, without going up and down the road too much. I know you mentioned that particular universities have to do what's best for their state, but I want to ask this thing as we talk about Deion and the other high quality coaches, and folks are going to be excited. We've been sitting at home for so long, and one staple of, as you mentioned, of SWAC sports, especially SWAC football, is tailgating. You know, I mean, sometimes we don't even go to the game. You know, we just sit out there and tailgate, eat, socialize, and so forth and so on. Do you know where folks are? Is there some type of overall mandate, or is that by institution in terms of how folks will handle tailgate? Would tailgating be allowed in the spring, or will we stay away from that?
No, that's going to be an institutional decision, and I know just the temperature from our members. I think there are some institutions that have figured it out, and there are some that are working towards it. But all of our institutions want to have tailgating. That's part of the experience. It's just finding a way to fit in within those CDC guidelines and those local and state guidelines, and having being able to provide tailgating.
Yeah. Tell me, and I want to go back to your student athlete days here. Tell me one of your favorite moments as a student athlete. I mean, you were with a legendary coach, with a high quality program at Alcorn State. Kind of tell us one of your favorite moments. Maybe you hit a game winning shot. Maybe you dropped 55. I don't know. Tell us that moment for you as a student athlete. You can go back in time a little bit.
Yeah, there's so many, but I just remember the SWAC being very, very competitive. I remember playing a game at Grambling in double overtime. Had a pretty good game. And so at Grambling, when you walk outside of the gym, your dressing room was in an old weight room. And so it's right through the fans. I remember the fans kind of touching you, pushing on you on your way to the locker room during halftime. Then after the game, winning that game and going outside and having the front window of our bus busted out. So
really?
that just speaks to the competitiveness, of the conference. That's a memory. And just Coach Whitney was just a phenomenal leader, very persistent, very consistent, didn't take no for an answer, military base. And so just being trained under him, I can just remember so many things that happened during my career as a student athlete that made me a better person. Didn't understand it then, but when we got out in the real world, started to work and have responsibilities, you kind of understood what he was talking about, back then. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Our coaches are so important and so impactful in shaping our lives, especially as men. Tell me what you love about your current role as senior associate commissioner.
Just having the ability to communicate with all of our membership, athletic directors, our senior women's administrators, our compliance, just everyone from the top down. You have the ability to communicate and have an impact, throughout the conference. And so I like that, in terms of the opportunity to visit them and work with them, opportunity. Like I can't take this away from the experience, right? Going to different games, and being able to just participate, the ability to really impact all student athletes, not just one at one particular institution. So it's just the ability to work with all 10 members on a daily basis and build those relationships and push the conference forward.
Absolutely. So I mean, we saw the expansion come, and folks are excited about that. We've seen the new hires coming through, which has been great. We know that you all are doing a great job in terms of making sure our student athletes are in a safe environment in order to get their education, but also perform on the athletic performance platform as well. What's next for the SWAC? What's on the horizon?
I think just leveraging our brand recognition and affiliation, and TV deals, I think, are on the horizon. I don't want to go too deep into that, but I think that we have a product that we can sell that is valued at a higher level. And so just looking 5 or 10 years down the road, looking at an increased presence on your networks. We've already increased our corporate sponsors. We look to have a significant increase in corporate sponsorship moving forward. So putting the SWAC back on the national forefront as one of the most competitive, most respected, the most visible athletic conference in the nation, I think is our goal moving forward.
Absolutely. This has been a great conversation, and I'll say, I have so many memories, as a kid with the SWAC. I have memories when I, moving through the halls of Texas Southern University when, our basketball games, teams would come. And we had a very good basketball team. We normally have a very good basketball team with Mike Davis. We currently have Johnny Jones, Tony Harvey before that. And whenever somebody would foul out, we would, the student section, we would give them hell, man. We would give them hell. So it's fun moments like that. And I remember going to SWAC games, Jackson State, and just watching Steve McNair and throw the ball all over the field. And then who was the quarterback for Jackson? I think it was it Asbury at the time? Yeah, Asbury, Graylin Pratt throwing to my brother. And other fun. It was just fun times. Then you get to watch the band. The parade was awesome. Well, you said Huntsville, right, where you grew up, right? So I'm sorry you didn't get the experience early on, man. But you eventually came around, brother. But no, it's just as you mentioned, it's a community, it's family, it is brotherhood, sisterhood, and we all look out for one another. Different institutions, but I think it's all family. And so I appreciate you good sir for making time to be with us, talk with us, kind of share the vision for SWAC and answer some of our questions as well, and continue to stay safe and give Commissioner McClellan our best, and hope that he can make time in the future to chat with us.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure he will. And look, thanks for having me on. It was a great conversation. Look forward to talking to you in the future. Seeing you in a TSU hat maybe next time.
Hey, yeah, keep praying for me, man. Keep praying for me. But hey, folks. But again, if you did not catch that conversation from last night with black men and those diverse perspectives on the social and political landscape, make sure you go to my website, IamDamienJones.com, and you can find that information there. And folks, make sure you register to vote as well, because we have important elections coming up. Make sure that you and your family can go cast your ballot and make your voice heard. Appreciate you. Let's go have a good, safe weekend, folks. Make sure that you are wearing a mask. Make sure you're social distancing. Make sure you're doing all those safe things as you go about your daily lives. And we really appreciate you being here with us. Until next time, continue to live your life with intensity, integrity, and intelligence. Thank you, Dr. Cable, for being with us. This is the Damien Jones Podcast.